Hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. The stock market on Friday had a very solid session. However, it's unfortunate the way that this rally is playing out. It is what it is. There's really nothing we can do with it. But, it's just coming along a little too fast and a little too odd. So we got a follow through day, obviously, back on the 2nd, back here in October. Since then, things have been working out right. But the volume on the upside has been kind of lame, below average, and then randomly all of a sudden on Thursday, Friday, we got above average volume. But of course, on Friday, huge gap up, in the market. So if you use a 200-day moving average buy methodology, you got a signal here. But pretty big move in one day for the NASDAQ. And as you see with the NASDAQ 100, same similar situation. Look at us. Is that a new high, by the way? I mean, I'm so out of it. I didn't even check that out. Very, very close. But we're getting close. And it's just crazy because it really did happen too fast. Nasdaq 100 took out the 200-day moving average back here, and it's been a full follow-through mode ever since, so that's really good. But if you go look at some of the other indexes, you can see the S&P 500, that's a pretty V-shaped formation off those lows without much accumulation. Now, on a weekly, it does look better. When we look at a weekly here, we can see that following, that extreme move, we've actually got some pretty good volume pattern on a weekly, and that can be seen also on the NASDAQ. So the weekly definitely looks better. And then I want to point out another thing on the weekly. So overall, it's looking good, but, we just don't have that huge volume. So I expect us to pull back, hopefully find support above these levels, and we're going to have a lot of nice patterns out there because there's a lot of rounding out bullish patterns. A lot of breakouts have been weird, like Priceline and Google. It's not exactly, textbook picture perfect, but it is what it is. The only concerning thing about this whole thing is that the Russell 2000 is the lagging index, but still, even that index looks damn good off those September lows, kind of biding its time sideways. So I think it's just a matter of time before it breaks out. But while I've been worried about the overall nature of the short-term overbought on the stochastics, TSV and MACD, and I've been telling everybody that now I'm not sure if overbought's going to become more overbought or, if we're going to have to pull back. Either way, it should be okay because if we go to our weekly charts here, here's a New York Stock Exchange weekly chart. Here's the TSV and here's the MACD. So as you can see clearly, nowhere near overbought, and in fact, we're coming off oversold levels, rounding up. Here's a weekly of the NYSE stochastics, as you can see, rounding up off those recent lows, going all the way back to 2010, 2011, and 12 lows. So we have a lot of upside before we get overbought on a weekly. Same thing can be said on the NASDAQ. As you can see here, look at the stochastics and RSI rounding up off the lows, and the same thing with the TSV and MACD. MACD isn't rounding up yet, but I tell you what, that's extremely oversold. And so you get that in all the indexes, and it's actually pretty promising as you look at the rest of them, the S&P 500 right here. Look at how oversold stochastics are there. We're all the way back at 2011 levels. Stochastics, I mean MACD. We're all the way back at 2011 levels. And as you can see here, once again, stochastics now on the S&P 500. We're at those levels we saw in the 11, 10, 9, and 8 lows. Not quite, but, we're more oversold than we saw during any of the other pullbacks, and we've curled up. So overall, it's hard, to think that, oh, well, we are so overbought, we have to sell off. Not really. We're actually looking pretty good overall on the weekly. So on a daily, overbought can get more overbought. We got a lot of decent looking chart patterns that are trying to round out there. Like Gapple, look at that. Beautiful round out attempt. GoPro off the lows, you can tell it's trying to round out. Fit, recent IPO, you can tell that's trying to round out. I think like ORBK, you can see that that's a round out there. Inflix, you can see a consolidation pattern there. So we have a lot of great patterns forming out there. Unfortunately, we don't have anything amazing, and sadly, even though that we're getting some pretty strong signals from the market overall, all the signals that I get, earnings are coming up. And when you have earnings coming up, I'm sorry, folks, I would love to get us all 100% invested in here using my methodology, but it simply can't be done being methodical, logical, and rational based on the approaches that I use. So what we're going to have to do is, once again, we got a few signals, can't load up on them all and be all happy about it. They're all pretty speculative, especially with earnings coming up. The big one that I got to pass on is Tree. Tree was a new long signal, pocket pivot point signal, canceling quality, former perfect speculator stock scam. qualifier, pocket pivot point signal, but unfortunately earnings are before the opening bell on Monday, so absolutely forget it. So tree, first off, that's the first long that we're passing on. And then FSB, I like this. It's a Cansom quality stock, IPO. It's got some nice heavy accumulation with plenty of pocket pivot point signals off the 50-day moving average. Unfortunately, earnings are on Tuesday. However, in this market, I'm going for it, but it's only going to be 1% of my account capital. FSB was confirmed in my IPO scan, so it's technically a confirmed IPO. I don't think it was in my price volume BOP scan, but probably should have been. But I think it closed too far off the highs for that to have been the case. But either way, that's only going to be a 1% because of the upcoming long signal. And then WNS, it's not the best one tonight, but it's the strongest pocket pivot point signal, as you can see. Where's my, there it is, relative strength line. It's near its highs. It's the big, thick white line down here. You can see that it's near the old highs, so that's pretty good. Breakout strong volume. Little risky as it's up, we're going to have to lose 4% before we know that we're wrong on half the position, about 6% before we know that we're wrong on the entire position. But I want to go ahead and increase it because of how strong it is and its confirmation scans. Earnings are actually out of the way on this one. It is the only one that earnings are out of the way on. It's a Cansom quality stock, was confirmed in my new high scan and my price volume scan. So 2% for being Cansom, 1% for being new in the new high scan, 1% for being price volume BOP. So that's a 4% position in WNS. Much longer chart, green BOP the entire time, and maybe it's only up 2-3%. Absolutely 5%, no doubt about it. Maybe could even, push it more if you want to, but it'd have to be a lot more perfect. And then the best overall setup for this evening is CBS, as it's the best looking one. It's had 3 pocket pivot point signals in 4 days. Very strong volume off the 50-day moving average. Would like to really push it on this one, but I can't. Why? Of course, earnings are coming up. And when are the earnings? I wrote it down somewhere. I think the 3rd. So they're coming up on November the 3rd, which gives us a little time before that we know that we're wrong in the position, which is why I can go ahead and increase it. 2% for being Cansom, 1% for being price volume, 3%. Wish it was in more scans, but what are you going to do? But CVS, this is by far the best signal out there because of the risk reward. It just has earnings coming up. WNS is then not so bad either, and then FSB is risky with the 1%. Tree just cannot be done. But we also have 2 speculative longs. Remember AGRO? We were just long this stock back here. Unfortunately, got knocked out of it here on the 21st. But you know what? I'm not afraid to buy back stocks that I get knocked out of if the pattern still looks great. And AGRO's pattern looks really good. It's not the best, but, pretty solid overall. But, definitely got to go long this pocket pivot point signal move. AGRO, I think earnings are on the 12th of November, so they're far, far, far away. And then we have a very speculative name, DSS. This one, I don't even know if I can do. I mean, that it's just ridiculous. I'm going to have to go less than 1% on this one, and it's going to be about, I don't know, man. I might 10,000 shares. I might try to buy on it or whatever, but I'm not too sure. I got to really check it out. But it's a 24-cent stock. But obviously, I'm looking this to be a huge runner, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a long position on it. I'm not sure how many shares I can take. It might cost me a lot in commission. So, well, not a lot. I mean, whatever. It might cost me like up to $5 in commission for this trade. So it's not an ideal trade, but it is one. If I can put it on, I'm going to put it on. Not going to spend more than 24 cents, so it's not going to be bought at 25 cents. I got to get it at 24 cents or I don't want it at all. But DSS, I'm going to take a speculative position in that one too. Not sure how much the account capital, but AGRO is also 1%. Also, EFSC, kind of a parabolic climax-like move on the short term. So I'm going to go ahead and take 25% off the table. So we'll go ahead and lock in 25% of our gains and then wait for the stock to give us sell stop signals on the rest of the position. And SKX finally fully failed. I've been knocked out of it since back here, I believe. I don't know if this one got me out below those lows, but no matter what, I was out here. And turns out that was a good move because it gapped down and was unable to rally. So SKX is a full sell. Still leaving, I think even if you're still holding it, you can still leave with like a 50%, 57% gain. So not too bad. The only unfortunate thing that's been happening the past 2 weeks is EROS. The perfect short sell setup. Posted a video lesson on it. Told everybody I was going short. Totally forgot to enter my order. Wow. 50% loss in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. Not too shabby. All right, everybody. That looks like that's all that there is to go over. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the chat room on Monday.